Good afternoon, everybody. It's your boy D Mac. So let's talk. All right. ESPN. We've seen recently that they've had their share of controversy going on with Maria Taylor leaving and what's her name, Miss Nichols, saying that the environment was toxic, and she made some statements saying that Taylor was basically what's the word I'm looking for? What they used to call it whenever they give a black person a job, not on their merit or anything like that. Affirmative action. So she alluded to it was an affirmative action thing that Maria Taylor got her job at ESPN and was pushing her out of her position. And a lot of people came down on came down on Nichols for that, and they made it about Nichols and Taylor when it's really about ESPN's toxic work environment and their lack of diversity in their work environment. And this is what caused this statement to come about. So I don't blame Miss Nichols for what she said because she was right. Um, and if that is the case, ESPN has a diversity problem, and they're having to hire on token black people to make themselves not look racist. That's the issue with ESPN, not with Miss Taylor, not with Miss Nichols. So everybody's anger and disappointment was misplaced to the wrong person. ESPN over the years, it used to be like this back in the day. Whenever I wanted to go and see some sports numbers, I wanted to see what was going on and get all of the latest scores for the games and sports news and stuff like that. I turn on ESPN, sit down, watch Sports Center, see the little thing going down at the bottom. It'll tell me everything that's going on. I'm caught up. Now, if I want detail into it, I'll sit around and wait for them to come up to that topic so that they can talk about it in more depth. Um, and that was our go-to for a long time, all the way up to about 2011, 2012. Then that's when you started to see other sportscasts, Fox Sports and CBS Sports, and all of these others who were always in the lower bracket, the ESPN, because ESPN has been top dog since they came out in 1979. And so you have these smaller sports broadcasts, and they started doing the same thing, but it came down to subscriptions. Now, when you subscribe to ESPN, at first it was $4.99, and they had over 100 million subscribers. So you take 100 million subscribers at $4.99, and that puts you at about close to $6 billion that they were making. Now you take now, and they've lost probably about 13 million subscribers. So they're down about 87 million subscribers. So what did they do? They raised the price of their subscription because they had less people paying. And now at 87 million subscribers, and they raised the cost of the subscription up to about $7, then they come out and they make about a little over $7 billion in revenue from subscriptions. So we're looking at subscribers now. Everything is coming down to your subscribers, and that's how you make your money. So ESPN now, they don't have a monopoly on the sports broadcasting field, and they're not the only game in town where you can just go and look up the box scores and look and see what news is going on. So now they have to add things in order to make themselves more appealing and to stay on top. What are those things that they're adding? They have to add analysts, and they have to add analysts that are going to cater to a certain demographic, that are going to reach a certain demographic. And ESPN, for the longest, like I said, they were created in 1979, so they came in when black people weren't really being shown in that light as being analysts and broadcasters and things of that nature. And so there was a real one-sided view in sportscasting. Well, now we move into 2020 and 2021, and we have a lot more diversity in every other field. and ESPN was still lacking and moving behind in diversity. They had Stephen A, but Stephen A, we know he's like Tom off of the Boondocks. Um, who else? They had a couple others, and you see a lot are exiting. A lot of the black people from ESPN are leaving. I forgot the gentleman's name, Ganderson or Grinderson or something like that. He's been with ESPN for almost 20 years. He's leaving now. You had Maria Taylor to leave. You had Jamel Hill to leave. You have so many black people to leave ESPN and go and search for employment and a career elsewhere. Why is that? What type of environment is ESPN creating that makes these people feel as though they have to go elsewhere because they're not getting a fair shake there? I don't really know the story that went down with Jamel Hill and why they fired and all of that, but it's just one more example of the problems that are going on at ESPN that are being swept under the rug, and nobody's really talking about it. So while we're out here attacking Miss Nichols, we need to redirect that energy to who it really belongs to, and that's the heads of ESPN. And they need to get their stuff in order, because there's a reason that all the black people are leaving there. Black people will stay somewhere if they even get half of a fair shake, because we're not going to get a full shake in this country in any industry or any job. We know that. But if we even get half of a fair shake, we'll be inclined to stay where we are. So what is going on at ESPN that is causing everybody to leave, causing all of the African American people to leave? This is something that needs to be investigated. This is what we need to have a story done on. All of you other sports broadcasting networks, why don't you report on ESPN and its lack of diversity? Why don't you report on that? That's a sporting story that needs to be told. Are y'all being paid not to do so, or are y'all being threatened not to do so? Because this is something that somebody need to jump on. They jumped on Maria Taylor leaving, and how much she was asking. She was asking to be paid the same as Stephen A and those guys, but she wasn't going to get that because they don't have equality for women either. So there's a big disparity at ESPN, not just for black people, but for women as well, and I imagine for other minorities. So yeah, ESPN has a lot to explain. ESPN has a lot to cover and a lot to do. You haven't heard any of these issues about Fox Sports. You haven't heard any of these issues about CBS Sports or any of the other broadcasts. So what's going on with ESPN? What's going on self-awareness? You said ESPN talk about the same few players and that's it. That's right, man, because they have a narrative that they want to push. They have a certain narrative that they're going to push, and they're going to push it by any means. Now, when the story came out about Deshaun Watson, I can remember how they did Deshaun Watson. They demonized him off tops. They didn't say, well, if he did. They didn't say, well, allegedly. Well, they probably said allegedly for legal purposes. But their narrative and everything that they've said towards Deshaun Watson has been to demonize him and to make him look guilty. And when you have those types of incentives being pushed within your business, and you don't have anybody with the integrity to say, whoa, hold up, I'm not going to do that, then you'll end up with this type of situation that ESPN is in right now. I remember when Shepard Smith left Fox News because, well, actually, he was fired because he wanted to have integrity and he wasn't willing to push the false narratives that Fox News was trying to get him to push for Donald Trump. And so Shep Smith left. They said they fired him or whatever the case. He was not willing to do what they said, and they let him go, and he went and found employment elsewhere because he had integrity and he had character, and he was not going to compromise that for a few dollars. And this is where a lot of our problem lies. When you have Stephen A. Smith who will compromise and who will kowtow and who will bootlick and who will be one of those little woodland creatures with rings around their eyes that like to watch their food, And that's where you get this from. And they expect that from everybody whenever they have their premier people doing these things. And so ESPN is on a steady decline. We may not see it from the outside looking in, but they definitely see it. This is why they're trying to get more diversity in their analysts, and you're going to see some new dark faces come up in there pretty soon. Because I thank Miss Nichols and Miss Taylor for bringing out these points and having them spotlighted so that we can really see what's going on behind the scenes there. They would never come out and say anything about it. And you have these other legends, these athletes who have been legends in their field who now work for ESPN, who don't have the integrity or character to open up their mouth and speak on these grievances because they're worried about that bag. They ain't gonna say nothing because they don't want to mess up their money. Now I've always wondered this. If I'm a millionaire, if I've got millions of dollars that I'm generating through my career and through my efforts and stuff like that, then what would it hurt for me to lose a job unless I'm not saving my money and I have spent out a whole lot of money in stuff and all of my assets are now tied up in things. This right here is what don't give people the freedom to be able to say, no, I'm not going to do that, or no, I'm not going to say that. Whenever you're living from paycheck to paycheck, basically, then you're going to do what they ask you. You look at the rapper The Baby right now. He has plenty of money. He's generated plenty of money, but he has a lifestyle that has to be upkept. And if he's not making money and doing all of those venues that he normally do, then he's going to start hurting and he's not going to be able to live that lifestyle anymore. So what they're selling out for is a lifestyle. That's what they're selling out for. They're selling their soul. They're selling their beliefs. They're selling their mind for a lifestyle. You said Disney brought ESPN, and we know the history of Disney. NBC Sports will be number one in a few years. You're absolutely right, man. Um, Now, we do know the history of Disney, and um, whenever you're walking in truth and you're seeking truth and you're seeking what's real, you're not just going to fall for any story that they give you. So they can come out with all the stories in the world that they want to. I'm not going to just take that, man. I can't just take that. I can't just take your word for it because I don't know your character. I don't know what your agenda is either. So I'm going to always study, man. That's something that I learned being in church. When somebody up there speaking, always go back and research what they said because you don't know if that person is telling you the truth or not. And you have to know for yourself. You have to study to show yourself approved. And when I say that, I don't just say that when it comes to scripture. I do that in everything. When somebody say something to me or they give me a reference point or something like that, I'm going to go back and check for myself to make sure that they was right so I can validate what they said. Because you're not just going to say anything to me. And I don't expect anybody to do that with me. If I say something on here, I try to make sure that I give you solid, good information, and I'm going to have at least 3 sources to back up what I say so that you can go and check it for yourself because I don't want you to just believe what I say off the cuff because I don't know everything. I swear I don't. I like to act like I do, but I don't. And so I want to just tell people whenever you're dealing with these ESPN and you're dealing with the NBC Sports, you said NBC Sports will be number one in a few years. I believe that. I believe that heavily because, like I was saying, now everybody is relying heavily on subscriptions. And ESPN is losing subscriptions every day, man. They've already lost 13 million over the last, 6 years. So how many more are they gonna lose? Because like I said, they used to have a monopoly on people come on, you watch ESPN, you watch Sports Center, and you see the box scores and you get the commentary and stuff like that. Well, now Sports Center ain't the only game in town. So we have other references. We can jump on YouTube and pull up those same scores and get the same commentary. You know what I'm saying? We can jump on Facebook. We can. There's so many different outlets now that ESPN does not hold that slot anymore. And so now ESPN is going to have to change and have some diversity in there. And they're going to have to make it an environment that is conducive to everybody, not just the men, but also the women, because now you have the WNBA that's moving up and they're growing and they're starting to get their just due. And so I said this probably about a month ago. Why doesn't ESPN have a female team doing sports analysis for the WNBA? It's not that hard. Same way they got their little groups, their little ESPN groups with Max Kellerman and Stephen A. They can have a group with Maria Taylor and Miss Nichols. They could have done that, and it would have been just that simple. You wouldn't have been taking nobody's position. They both would have been employed, and they both would have been representing the women's side of the spectrum. So why was that not a thought in their mind? I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I came up with that. That's common sense. And so it lets me know that they're trying to pit people against each other. ESPN got to do a better job. You're hurting yourself in the long run. Your subscriptions are steadily dwindling. And what are you going to do from that point forward? That's something that ESPN is going to have to talk about internally and get worked out, because the people are not going to go for it anymore. We see what's going on now that it's been called out to us. And you got people who are going to be looking to call out something, because we know that Satan is always the accuser of the brethren. He's looking for an opportunity for him to mess up. Um, when you have these channels like DMAC Let's Talk um, and Big J Let's Talk, all of us guys who are going to center our focus on sports, then that's going to take away from the ESPNs, because we can pull up that information just as quick as they can, and sometimes we have an inside scoop that they won't have. And now it's more access to the people, from the people to the people, and we don't have to rely on the big name companies to get this information anymore. So ESPN, you have a whole lot of competition out here, and you can't afford to have a toxic work environment like you do, because the more and more that people speak on you and speak about your toxic work environment, the more and more scrutiny is going to be placed on that place. And I'm telling you now, I don't want to contribute my time. I don't want to contribute my subscription or my viewing time to somebody who don't hold my people in the same regard as everybody else. And that's where we're at with ESPN. So let's get rid of the wild woodland creatures with the circles around their eyes who like to watch their food, and get some real brothers up in there who's going to have some integrity and who's going to really be there to speak for the people, because they're not speaking for the people. They're speaking for their constituents. That's corporate sports. We are the blue collar sports people. We're the ones who go out and buy the beers and go tailgating and buying the tickets. It's not those guys. They're the ones who sit in the skybox and or probably owners of the team, something like that. So yeah, man, I just wanted to bring attention to what's going on at ESPN, because, like I said in the beginning of this, everybody's anger was misplaced. It shouldn't have been going towards Miss Nichols. It should have been going towards ESPN itself, their front office, whoever's in charge of the hiring, whoever is one who's not hiring the right people. That's who this should have went towards. And so good luck to everybody out there, Miss Nichols, Miss Taylor, and anybody else who had issues with ESPN. I hope you find your home in a good place, and we look forward to seeing you. I definitely want to see a whole team set specifically for the WNBA. We have some WNBA stars that are retired. We have some great female analysts out here that they can build a team for the WNBA and women's sports, period. I don't understand why they can't come together with this concept and make it happen. It's very simple. But that just shows you how much they don't care about it. And when they don't care, they're not going to put any time and effort or finances towards anything. Because where your heart is, that's where your treasure also lies. So their heart isn't towards the diversity problem there. But just on that note, man, getting rid of old media is absolute must. The time that and age that we're going into right now, Vern, we can't afford to have this. You know, this what is it? Not yeah, excluding people or holding one ethnic group higher than the other. This is an issue in the Olympics. You look at the Olympics right now and what people have been attacked in these Olympic trials and in these Olympic games. What people have been scrutinized, what people have had the most pushback against them. There's a diversity problem in sports, period. There's still a lot of racism in sports, and it is being revealed. All of that hidden racism that's been well hidden in sports is now being brought to the surface, and you have to deal with it now. And it's not just ESPN. You can't just put it all on ESPN, but since ESPN is the biggest uh, sports network, then that's where it starts at. They started it. They're going to have to make some changes. And if they don't, they're going to shrink and they're going to dwindle. This is your boy D Mac, man. You know what I always say: sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.